Hey there, XRP Army. Welcome back to Journey to XRP, the home for real talk, real research, and real conviction. Now listen, today's story is a big one. I'm talking about something that just happened literally in the last few hours. And it involves a $1 billion XRP purchase. Yep, you heard that right, $1 billion. Now, before your brain jumps straight to why isn't the price skyrocketing, hold that thought, because that's exactly what we're going to unpack today. See, a new development has hit the XRP ecosystem. One that's not about hype or headlines, but about infrastructure, strategy, and long-term power moves by Ripple and its partners. So, here's the story. Ripple-backed company Evernorth, an asset treasury platform, just purchased 388 million XRP tokens worth roughly $1 billion. This isn't a rumors, it's confirmed activity. And what makes it fascinating isn't just the size of the deal, it's why it's happening. Now, if you've been following this channel, you already know Ripple's been making quiet but massive strategic moves lately, acquisitions, partnerships, regulatory plays, and expanding their financial network globally. They're not chasing pump and dump profits, they're building the foundation of $1 trillion infrastructure. And this Evernorth purchase, it's another brick in that wall. It's not about hype, it's about building the rails, the treasury systems, liquidity platforms, and enterprise backbones that will drive utility when the financial switch flips. Now here's where things get spicy. Even with this $1 billion purchase, XRP's price hasn't shot up today. The whole market, in fact, is in the red, which leads a lot of people to ask, if $1 billion just entered XRP, why isn't the price moving? It's a fair question, but remember, the crypto market isn't linear. XRP's daily trading volume alone is in the billions, meaning this purchase doesn't instantly flip the price needle. And let's not forget macro fear is holding everything down right now. Markets are bracing for geopolitical updates during the President Trump presidency meeting that's got everyone on edge. So short-term sentiment is cautious, but long-term Ripple is setting the stage for something far bigger than a temporary pump. And I want you to remember this. Every major XRP move in history started with a quiet infrastructure build. Partnerships, liquidity pools, regulatory clarity before the breakout came. That's what's happening right now. We'll talk about that. We'll break down why Ripple is doing this through Evernorth, what this means for XRP holders, and how this ties into Ripple's global game plan, including some big whispers about Brad Garlinghouse potentially joining a US crypto advisory board under the Trump administration. Yes, the connections are getting political and strategic. So if you're holding XRP or even watching from the sidelines, this video is for you. Because while most people are staring at short-term charts, the real action is happening behind the scenes. By the end of this breakdown, you'll understand exactly why this $1 billion move might be one of the biggest clues yet that Ripple is preparing for the next financial era. So grab your coffee, hit that like button, drop a year Parmy strong in the comments, and let's unpack this $1 billion bombshell together. Alright, let's start from the top and build some context here, because a $1 billion XRP purchase doesn't just come out of thin air. So here's the key player, Evernorth, a Ripple-backed company that focuses on digital asset treasury management. Now, when people hear the word treasury, their minds go straight to government bonds or corporate cash reserves. But this is different. Evernorth is part of Ripple's larger mission to create a global financial infrastructure where XRP isn't just a traded asset, it's a utility token used to move value instantly and securely. Think of it like this. Every major company on the planet holds money in treasuries, cash reserves, bonds, commodities. But in a tokenized world, those treasuries will increasingly hold digital assets, especially those that can settle value globally in seconds. And that's where XRP comes in. Now, Ripple's been laying the groundwork for this exact shift for years. They've been acquiring companies, partnering with banks, and building systems for cross-border payments, liquidity management, and tokenized asset transfers. And if you've been watching the recent headlines, Ripple has been aggressively expanding beyond just payments. They've rolled out Ripple Prime aimed at institutional clients. They've strengthened their liquidity hub, allowing enterprises to tap into crypto liquidity without dealing with market friction. They've launched Ripple Treasury and made several strategic acquisitions in the fintech and custody space. Evernorth fits perfectly into that puzzle. It's like the treasury engine of the Ripple ecosystem. Now, why does that matter? Because this $1 billion purchase of XRP by Evernorth isn't speculation, it's allocation. They're not buying XRP hoping it'll moon next week. They're buying it because it's part of their operational framework. It's collateral, it's liquidity, it's fuel. And this is huge because it signals that Ripple is quietly embedding XRP into the backbone of real-world financial systems. Remember when everyone said utility is what will separate the survivors from the hype coins? Well, this is it in action. Ripple's strategy right now isn't to chase daily pumps. They're not concerned about whether XRP is at 240 or 260 today. They're concerned about making XRP indispensable to the new digital financial infrastructure that's coming, whether the market realizes it yet or not. Now, let's talk timing, because this move didn't happen in a vacuum. The global market right now is nervous. There's geopolitical tension, that upcoming Trump-Xi meeting that's making headlines. There's uncertainty around interest rates. And the entire crypto sector is cooling after a few weeks of heat. So, while everyone else is distracted by fear and price dips, Ripple just made one of its biggest strategic plays of the year. Let that sink in. When markets go quiet, builders move. And Ripple has been moving fast. We've seen acquisitions in custody, liquidity, and compliance technology. We've seen their push into enterprise crypto services and whispers of collaboration with global payment networks that are ISO 2022 compliant, which, as you know, aligns perfectly with XRP's purpose. So, while retail traders are staring at charts asking why isn't XRP pumping, the real players are securing their positions for when the next regulatory wave hits, because that's when institutional capital will flood in. And that's why this billion-dollar buy is so powerful. It's not a short-term pump catalyst. It's a signal of long-term conviction and integration. Ripple knows that when regulation locks in and banking rails flip to blockchain, utility will be everything. They're not betting on hype. They're building the foundation. So now the question becomes, if Ripple and its partners are accumulating XRP in billion-dollar chunks for infrastructure, what does that mean for retail holders like you and me? All right, XRP Army, let's go deep. Because on the surface, this looks like just another company bought a bunch of XRP story, but underneath this is a clear signal that Ripple is quietly positioning XRP as the operational backbone of institutional finance. Let's break it down. When you hear that Evernorth has purchased $1 billion worth of XRP, your first instinct might be to think, okay, maybe they're bullish. But this is way beyond being bullish. This is strategic integration. Evernorth isn't just holding XRP, it's using it. Their role is to manage digital treasuries. That means providing liquidity for businesses, governments, and institutions who will use the XRP ledger for settlement. So imagine this. In the future, when central banks, fintech companies, or even corporate treasuries need instant cross-border settlements, they're not going to sit on Bitcoin or Ethereum gas fees. They'll use a system that's efficient, compliant, and scalable, and that's XRP. This is what Ripple has been building toward for years. A bridge asset that connects traditional finance with blockchain rails. Now here's where it gets even more interesting. In the last couple of months, Ripple's top execs, including CTO David Schwartz, have been hinting that the XRP ledger is evolving into critical financial infrastructure. And this $1 billion Evernorth buy lines up exactly with that mission. Think of Evernorth as the liquidity engine that will power enterprise-scale movement of tokenized assets, whether that's CBDCs, bonds, or stablecoins. They're building the plumbing that allows institutional money to flow through XRP effortlessly. Remember, Ripple isn't just chasing speculative volume, they're chasing settlement dominance. This move is Ripple saying we're ready for scale. And it's likely part of a much larger setup leading into the ISO 2022 global financial messaging rollout, the XRP ETF discussions, and potential US government partnerships that we've started hearing about. Now, one of the biggest misconceptions floating around is that Ripple needs price action to validate progress. That's just not true. Price follows adoption. Adoption doesn't follow price. And adoption right now is happening quietly through deals like this one. Think about it. $1 billion transaction doesn't just get approved overnight. This kind of purchase requires board-level strategy, institutional coordination, and liquidity planning. Ripple knows what it's doing. And the best part, they're playing the long game. They know the market is emotional. They know traders panic when charts go red. But while most are reacting, Ripple is accumulating influence, infrastructure, and liquidity power piece by piece. This is why Ripple's focus isn't the short-term speculative chart. It's the macro shift in how money moves globally. Every acquisition they've made lately, custody firms, payment networks, treasury systems, is part of this one vision to make XRP the unseen engine of the new global financial system. And here's the kicker. These quiet infrastructure plays are exactly how revolutions start in finance. When Swift was built, no one cared about it until one day every international transaction relied on it. XRP Ledger is walking that same path. So when you see Evernorth buys $1 billion in XRP, don't see it as a pump signal. See it as a proof of progress. It's confirmation that the network is maturing, the utility is real, and the institutions are preparing to operate on XRP, not just trade it. This is why, even while the market is red, the fundamentals for XRP have never been greener. All right, XRP Army. Let's talk about what this actually means for you, for me, and for the entire crypto ecosystem. Because this $1 billion Evernorth XRP purchase, it's not just another transaction. And it's a signal, a strategic footprint that tells us where Ripple is heading and what kind of future they're building behind the scenes. Let's start with the market reaction, or rather the lack of it. Many retail investors saw the headline and immediately jumped into the comments. Wait, how does $1 billion buy not move the price? And that's the exact moment where most people reveal they're still thinking like speculators, not strategists. Here's the truth. This isn't a hype move. This isn't a pump. This is an infrastructure alignment. The money isn't going into exchanges to buy XRP off the open market. It's likely an institutional transaction arranged directly between Ripple and Evernorth, done off exchange. That means it doesn't cause sudden market spikes, but it absolutely strengthens Ripple's ecosystem. Think of it like this. When a country builds a new oil pipeline, the stock of the company may not move instantly, but the value of that infrastructure becomes clear once energy demand spikes. That's exactly what's happening here with XRP. Ripple is building a liquidity pipeline that the world will depend on. Now, this also has huge implications for institutional trust. $1 billion allocation signals confidence, not just in Ripple as a company, but in XRP as a functional asset. Institutions don't buy $1 billion in opium, they buy into long-term frameworks, regulatory progress, and infrastructure they expect to last decades. And here's the key insight. This is happening while Ripple is deepening its political ties. There are strong rumors and even credible reports suggesting that Brad Garlinghouse, Ripple's CEO, may soon be joining or advising the US Presidential Crypto Advisory Board under President Trump's administration. If that happens, think about what it means. Ripple wouldn't just be a player in the crypto market, and it would be a seat at the global policy table. And the timing couldn't be more strategic. We are entering an era where countries are preparing for CBDC, central bank digital currency integration, ISO 2022 financial messaging is going global, and tokenized assets are becoming a $1 trillion conversation. In all of that, the XRP ledger is uniquely positioned as the bridge, the neutral layer that can connect traditional money and digital money seamlessly. So, if Ripple is quietly expanding into treasury systems, Evernorth, liquidity hubs, and institutional services, all while strengthening political relationships, then you're watching a company that's preparing not for hype, but for global adoption. Now, what does that mean for retail holders? It means this. The price may not react right away, but the foundation beneath it is getting stronger every single week. The more Ripple locks in enterprise partnerships, institutional usage, and real-world integration, the smaller the circulating float of XRP becomes. And when liquidity finally floods in under regulation, the supply-demand balance could shift fast. So, while everyone else is watching 24-hour candles, Ripple's playing a decade-long chess game. The Evernorth move is a bold signal that XRP's role isn't just speculative, it's functional. It's telling governments and banks, we're ready. We have the infrastructure, we have the liquidity, we have the rails, and that, my friends, is what separates XRP from 99% of the crypto market right now. Because while other projects are fighting for memcoin attention or NFT trends, Ripple is aligning itself with trillion-dollar institutions and even governments. That's not hype, that's legacy-level strategy. So when you hear $1 billion in XRP purchased, understand it's not about today's chart. It's about tomorrow's economy. Alright, XRP Army, let's talk strategy because information is great, but execution is where the real wins happen. Now that we know what this $1 billion Evernorth move means, long-term infrastructure, institutional accumulation, political positioning, the next question is simple. What should you, as an XRP holder or crypto investor, actually do right now? Here's the truth. This is the moment where patience, discipline, and positioning matter more than hype or headlines. Let's break it down into clear steps. 1. Stop thinking like a trader. Start thinking like an architect. You're not here to gamble. You're here to build wealth. Ripple is building the rails of the new financial system. And if you want to win in this new era, you need to adopt the same mindset. Long-term, structured, patient, daily price moves don't matter when the infrastructure itself is being rewritten beneath your feet. When builders are accumulating, you don't panic sell. You mirror their conviction. This isn't about timing the top, it's about owning a piece of the foundation. 2. Accumulate intelligently. When markets are red and fear dominates, the best investors quietly accumulate. This doesn't mean ape in blindly. It means use strategy, set buy zones, diversify across your crypto portfolio, but keep your conviction play strong. Remember, a $1 billion purchase by Evernorth didn't happen at market tops. It happened during uncertainty. Why? Because smart money buys when others hesitate. If Ripple and its partners are comfortable allocating $1 billion worth of XRP while the market is cautious, that's your clue. Long-term conviction always beats short-term panic. 3. Follow the fundamentals, not the fear. Right now, fear is everywhere. Fear of regulation, fear of politics, fear of slow price action. But what's stronger than fear? Facts. Fact. Ripple's partnerships and acquisitions are expanding every month. Fact. Institutional integration is accelerating, not slowing down. Fact. Evernorth's 1 billion XRP allocation confirms that real-world utility is in motion. You can't build conviction on memes. You build it on data and direction. When the fundamentals are improving while prices stay flat, that's when you know you're early. 4. Stay educated, stay connected. The worst thing you can do in times like this is isolate yourself. Information moves fast. And being plugged into communities that focus on education, not hype, will keep you grounded. Join your favorite crypto research groups, Discords, and study Ripple's own reports. Understand ISO 2022, study CBDC pilots. Learn about on-demand liquidity. The more you know, the less you'll react emotionally, and the more opportunities you'll see before others. Because let's face it, the market doesn't reward emotion. It rewards preparation. 5. Think in decades, not days. This is where most people lose. They think in hours. Ripple thinks in eras. Every major wealth wave in history, from the internet to smartphones to blockchain, rewarded those who stayed focused when others lost patience. XRP's story isn't finished. It's still being written, and right now, the quiet builders, the Evernorths, the Ripples, the long-term holders, and they're writing the next chapter. So, if you want to be part of that story, don't chase noise. Hold your ground, stay informed, build your conviction. 6. Bonus mindset. Don't be the I almost person. Years from now, when XRP is powering payment systems and institutional liquidity across the world, there will be two kinds of people. Checkmark those who held, learned, and stayed ready. And those who say, I almost held, don't be the second one. Remember, markets test conviction before they reward it. So here's your strategy takeaway. Stay grounded, accumulate intelligently, focus on fundamentals, think long term. Keep learning and growing with this community because history doesn't reward the impatient, it rewards the prepared. All right? XRP Army. Let's bring this home. We've talked about the $1 billion Evernorth purchase, the quiet moves Ripple is making behind the scenes, the politics, the partnerships, the purpose. But now I want to talk about you. Because all of this, all the research, all the waiting, all the conviction, it comes down to the people who believed when it wasn't easy to believe. See, every great financial revolution has a moment like this. A moment where the charts are quiet, the headlines are confusing, and the real work is happening in silence. That's where we are right now. While the rest of the market is chasing the next meme coin, Ripple is building the infrastructure of global finance. While traders panic over red candles, institutions are moving in silence, stacking XRP through billion-dollar treasury allocations like we just saw with Evernorth. And here's the thing nobody tells you. Revolutions aren't loud, they're methodical. The same way the internet changed how we share information, XRP is changing how we move value. And if you've been here since the early days, watching every lawsuit, every partnership, every Brad Garlinghouse interview, then you already know this isn't about luck, it's about timing, technology, and tenacity. The patience paradox, everyone wants to get rich overnight, but the biggest gains always come to those who are willing to wait through the noise. When people laughed at Amazon in 1999, those who held through the crash ended up with life-changing wealth. When people mocked Bitcoin at $100, the patient ones became legends. And today, when people doubt XRP, the ones who understand the macro vision will be the ones standing tall when the dust settles. That's why this channel exists, to keep you focused on the vision, not distracted by the noise. Journey to XRP has always been about one thing: clarity through conviction. We're not chasing hype, we're documenting history in real time, a history that will define how money moves across the globe for decades to come. The bigger picture. Evernorth's billion-dollar buy isn't a coincidence. It's a confirmation that institutional adoption is here, even if retail hasn't caught up yet. That Ripple's technology isn't theory anymore. It's infrastructure. And maybe the price isn't reflecting it today. But one day, the world will look back at this exact moment when the XRP ledger was being quietly loaded with liquidity, when Evernorth was buying billions, when Ripple was locking in governments and treasuries and essays. And they'll say, yeah, that was the turning point. That's the beauty of being early. You get to live through the confusion before the world understands the clarity, the mindset of winners. So here's my message to you. Keep your mindset sharp. Keep your energy clean. Keep your focus long term, because this is how wealth transfers happen. Not by luck, but by preparation, meeting opportunity. And the opportunity is right here unfolding in real time. So whether you hold 100 XRP or 100,000, you're part of a movement that's bigger than any one investor. You're part of the story that future generations will read about when they study how the financial world transitioned from old rails to new ones. And when that shift completes, or when Ripple's infrastructure is powering banks, governments, and institutions, you'll remember that you were here before it was obvious. Final thoughts. The market will fluctuate. The headlines will change, but the mission remains the same: to build, to believe, and to hold strong through the noise. To keep showing up, learning, and growing with this incredible XRP community, because one day, this patience, this conviction, this discipline, it's all going to pay off in ways that most people can't even imagine right now. Until then, stay grounded, stay curious, stay unstoppable. This is your host, signing off from Journey to XRP, reminding you that we're not just investors, we're pioneers. Because when clarity meets conviction, there's no limit to what XRP and the people who believe in it can achieve.